even in the right game? Quit! We are for a month. Let's shine a light. No, Bahamut, no! Stay tuned. All right, all jokes aside, welcome to another game that I like to, or at least I wouldn't say game, but universe I like to play, Final Fantasy. The next event's going to be Final Fantasy Brave Exvius War of the Visions. I played the original game. War of the Visions is a tactics game that is actually fairly similar in regards to Dragon Quest for the way that the battles flow, but personally much worse gotcha than what Dragon Quest is. And it is more grindy as well. So I do think Dragon Quest Tact is a better game overall than War of the Visions. And actually, the two came out at the same time, and after playing War of the Visions for a short period of time, I've stuck tried and true to Dragon Quest Tact. But more importantly, let's go with King Mont of Leonis. And great news, they have been very truthful to this character. Fairly worthless in both games. This is our free character, though. He is S rank. He raises attack power by 10%. His first one increases his own speed and activates selflessness. This is by far the most important part of King Mont. He has to use to be at least to be able to activate selflessness for one turn. It does increase speed, but in all honesty, who really cares about speed when you're just there to be a tank? The only thing that's nice is you could try and change your timing of your movements and so forth to absorb. But in all honesty, it's selflessness. He is a tank, just like FFBE. And because he's a tank, he's our first S tank, which does make him at least something. But honestly, other than if he wasn't free, he really wouldn't be worth it. But because he is free, at least you will have that. He is a hero, though, so he is expensive. And that's why I'm like, generally, in Arena, you're not going to want him to tank. He just takes up too much room for points. And for PvE, he's okay. He's got the best stats, so he'll be useful there. He'll have some tactics down the line, probably for units to use, but from a PvP point, no. And honestly, that's just like how he is in War of the Visions, so nothing too surprising there. Second one is Lion King Fang. Has a very high physical damage to one enemy and can chance of blocking physical damage later. Blocking, any skills that use physical damage. It's a good skill, but once again, you're going to be using him for selflessness only. Last one's Young's Lion Claw. Deals 250% physical damage to all enemies, occasionally lower physical resistance. which is nice. And I mean, if you're not worrying about a defend at that point or something, he does have some other skills you could use. But frankly, his first skill is movement +1. Uh, the third skill is raises physical resistance for 10 turns. That is really useful. That's something that you're looking for. He is a tank. Any resistance is pretty big. Last one is decrease physical skill MP consumption and increase power by 10%. The MP consumption, power, you're really not going to use. Interestingly enough, after you get him to third awakening, I highly suggest Moogle before you 5-star Leonis or 5-heart Leonis. He's got Whoosh and Zam resistance as well. But honestly, that's the main thing. There's that Moogle and Chocobo are much better units, and we'll talk about that more a little later. Our first summon is probably going to be Phoenix. Increases his physical skill power by 20%. Has a very nice moderate HP recovery for people in the area. Its main attack is Flare. It's non-elemental. Deals very heavy spell damage to an enemy. This is very annoying when we're going to be fighting the unit. It does do a very large amount of spell damage to one unit. Nothing spectacular from, like a Jessica comparison, but still a very good power unit overall. The last one's Reincarnation Flame. Inflicts large physical damage to all enemies within range. And you can see it's a pretty unique range, and it can move. But more importantly, moves up to 2 squares and recovers HP by 100% of the damage dealt. Phoenix's main issue is it is relatively weak, but it can heal itself. And it can increase it. It can also auto-revive once if you get the first awakening, just like Phoenix, Rise of the Phoenix, etc. So what we'll do is it will die, then it will revive to 25 HP once. Has a turn radius of 99 turns. So you can't go like to turn 1 of 10 in PvE. But other than that, it's actually a pretty useful skill for Phoenix. Something like what you'd probably be using instead would be Zoma. You can cancel it out. And that is kind of important for some PvP battles, and will also be important when you fight Phoenix a little later in this event. Whoosh and Sizz resistances are its main. The attack, if it attacks, increase evasion rate for 1 turn by the number of enemies attack. So with the Reincarnation Flame, you can actually do a pretty large amount of evasion rate. And Phoenix can be fairly annoying. You're going to want to use Breath and spell damage against it. It also, the last one's 100%, 100 HP, and then Reincarnation Flame damage as well. The unit I'm most looking forward to, Bahamut. Great leadership, increases spell power by 15%. Destruction Awakening, probably not the way that's going to be pronounced in English, but basically it is a huge boost that does 70 MP increase and increases spell and recovery power. Bahamut can dish out damage until the day is done. Blizzard's the next skill, does large crackle damage to all enemies and can cause sleep. Or it might be paralysis, but I think it's sleep. Last one is Mega Flare, deals heavy damage to all enemies within range. And on turn 2, if you use Destruction Awakening, Mega Flare does a massive amount of damage, especially with the first awakening, which increases movement plus damage by 20% for the first 3 turns. Sezzle and Frizzers 2 and 4. The third one recovers 50% of max HP when HP is below 50%, and Mega Flare 5%. Just so people know, Bahamut is actually really, really beefy. In the stats, especially HP and defense, especially for someone that can actually do some magic. And the last one's that max HP plus 100 Reincarnation Flame. Oh, sorry, it's not Reincarnation Flame. Very, very strong unit, though. Great, great damage power. The other unit that people are really interested in is Omega. This is more for real time arena. Zap is really the only way to damage it. My big concern is that it's more of a debuffer than actual physical attacker. It does have its uses, though. It is pretty weak and can be one-shotted by certain units. Its leadership increases physical power by 15% is great. The one thing, though, I will say, and I'm going to go with the Awakenings. The first one is nullifies breath damage for 3 turns at start. That really, really helps Omega. One of those units can't actually do damage for the first 3 turns. And is one of those units that a lot of people like to use, including myself. So that kind of burns a bit. Crack and Bang. The third one here does increase attack power. Then the last one here is max HP 50. It's a little bit weak there. The one thing, though, that I will say is that the Burning Miasma occasionally is 40% sorry for the Paralyze and lowers defense here at not 20%. That is actually pretty powerful. It would have been really nice if it did damage. This is why I'm not a huge fan of Omega. Some of these skills where it does do a lot of debuffs occasionally, but with the Burning Miasma, you've got 2 attempts usually. And usually if they're weak against Paralyze, you're going to have a much better shot at it, nearly 100%, especially after you upgrade it. Thunderstorm inflicts large zap damage to all enemies and has a high 60% chance of greatly reducing HP recovery for 3 turns. This is a great damage thing. The reducing HP recovery is really useful when you're going against tanks and they're trying to huddle around with healers. That will kind of help usually with the damage being done. The last one, Demon Beast, inflicts 85% physical damage 3 times to all enemies and occasionally lowers speed for 3 turns. This occasionally, because it's 3 times, has a much higher chance than just 40%. And more importantly, it does actually inflict damage overall. This is a great skill, especially if you're trying to kind of nullify a speed or change some of the fight overall. As I say, Omega has a really unique damage reduction, except for one. Because of that, it has low HP and can be one-shot fairly easy, but only by select units. We'll go more into details on Omega when it comes out made on the point. Before I go with the A units, all these S units require Phantom Orbs. Just think of the die event. They are the exact same thing, except you get Phantom Orbs to rank up. You can get a total of 8 Phantom Orbs. There's the large-scale Phantom Orb, which is a 100,000 score, like the Soma EX Castle. We'll talk more about that. Clear event 500 times, get you 1. There will be 3 exchanges for battles there. Fairly difficult, but you can actually get these directly from the lowest difficulty if you want, which is pretty much the best way to go. And then you'll have 3 different FFBE Phantom War exchanges, one for each. I'd say one for each time a new S unit comes out for 3,000 war coins. So theoretically, for all 4 units, if you do draw them, you will be able to get them at the very least to S6 with these Phantom Orbs of your choosing. Now, at the end, they should convert any Phantom Orbs into normal orbs, and then if you want to rank them up later, you can always convert them. Game, it would be nice. I was drunk one night and accidentally converted 4 of my orbs for die that are completely worthless right now. I would love to be able to get those back, but you can. They will always be open there, so it would be nice to convert that again in case you screw up like I do. Yay! All right, let's go for the A units. The first one's Cactaur. Cactaur is for Bahamut. And another reason why I like Bahamut is Cactaur has a very unique ability that is really strong. The first one's Tackle, inflicts 110% physical damage to one enemy and moves up to 2 squares. Can't use if there's an obstacle in the way. That's just a normal attack. Needle Bundle doubles your physical skill power for a turn. Stores 1,000 needles. That's right, you deal 1,000 damage to one enemy. This is one of the few units that has constant for an A unit. That is massive amount of damage, and can really hurt some tanks. Overall, it has a pretty large range, very easy to use, and this is where Cactaur really starts going through that. The first awakening gives it higher agility and evasion rate for the first 3 turns. That is primo for Cactaur. Beyond that, the third awakening gives it an even higher evasion rate when it's attacking. And so, all in all, it's a great unit that takes out 1,000 slimes. A lot of other things are going on too with that. Very, very strong, very useful unit. Its big weakness is its HP and is low, but its defense is pretty high, and it has good agility. But First Awakening does really help with that evasion rate. Third Awakening even helps more when you attack. And let me tell you, when you do that 1,000 needles, you'll just feel really, really strong from that little guy doing so much damage. The second one is a grenade. I'm not sure if they're going to call it grenade or bomb. This is for Phoenix. This is another interesting unit. First one is Fire and then Fira. They do fist damage, spell damage to an enemy or enemies. And then the last one is Self-Destruct. Give up. Basically, you sacrifice yourself and deal heavy physical damage to an enemy. That is a way that, as long as you're not really worried about like a PvE mission, you do massive physical damage to an enemy, but it does cost the unit its life. Has good HP, good defense, good agility, good wisdom. It's a somewhat defensive spellcaster. Basically, though, the first and third play with the tropes for grenades in Final Fantasy. When you're at 50% HP, gives you physical skill power 50% for 3 turns for your first awakening. And the third one, at 20% or less awakening, increases physical power and recovery power by 1.5x at the start of every turn the grenade's there. So if you are going to be attacking the grenade, make sure, especially once it gets down to 50%, that you finish it off. That self-destruction will pack a hell of a punch and take out a unit 1v1 with that grenade damage. The next unit is Shiva. She is for Omega. She is fairly unique here. The one thing, though, for her is that the first awakening gives Crackle Force State. This is very important, especially for Zoma, or if you're going to build a defense. So there are 2 banners I'm going to pull, not super hard, but I will pull for. And that's more for the A units than the S units, because they have some really unique abilities here that are pretty nice. And at the very least, I may just spend a gold ticket for Shiva, just because of her Crackle Force State for her first awakening. She has Blizzard and Permafrost and Diamond Dust, all Crackle skills, all spells, and they just go up in damage. Overall, for an A unit, she's pretty beefy and tanky with good agility and decent wisdom. And her leadership effect is actually pretty nice for her, increasing Crackle spell power by 10%. Honestly, I would not be all that upset if I could get 3 or 4 of her really, really quickly, but that never happens to me. The last, so our first farmable, actually, this is going to be the last one of the 3 that's farmable released for A's, is Ifrit. Um, Basically, we're going to be going Frizz now instead of Crackle for Shiva. And the main thing is he is more attack based than wisdom based as he's attack powered, but this falls perfectly within the FF universe. Raising attack and defense power for 3 turns is actually pretty useful because it lasts so long, and its defense and attack power I do really like. Randomly deals 40% for his physical damage 5 times enemies in range, and 10% chance to resist low resistance for 3 turns. You do have 5 chances. It's still not the greatest chance. Even with the fully upgrade, you might get 1 unit out of the 5 or 5 hits to get that. But if it does happen, that will really help first damage overall. And there's actually a pretty good team that you can build with Ifrit as well that we have that really go really well together. So let's go ahead and just finish here. Hellfire is a first spell damage that is attack power based. The big issue here is it leaves a lava mass that does 300 damage for 2 turns that could damage you as well. So if you auto, there will be idiotic computer moments where your own units will die because of this. It is a slight negative, but it can be used on the field too, especially in RTA. If you're starting to see people cower in a corner, you can trap them there and get them away. Interestingly enough, these A units are all really defensive for the most part, and I actually really like them. But in a weird part here, the farmable A units in this event is really powerful. And Ifrit might be the lowest one of the 3 for me, and I like Ifrit. So this is going to be an event where I'm going to be farming these units as to the best of my ability. And that's why I told people, look, I think Mont, you just get a couple. You just get as much as if you can for him. Maybe get him to 3 hearts. Then you focus on these A units. These A units are very, very top notch. The 5th Awakening, though, is really good for Ifrit. It really does boost up its attack. And also it can recover some of its HP, but it's a relatively small amount of HP. And its movement's fine up to 3 there. Chocobo. Chocobo is a really good A unit buff. And personally, this is going to be a unit that I rate above Claria because of all its abilities it has. I know others like her because of her ability to do some good damage, but let's just go through this. The A unit here, low HP at 820, but it has the ability to accelerate itself to raise its own speed for 1 turn to make sure it goes first the next round. Not going to really use that all that much. The 2 skills you're going to be using are Chocobo Heal and Chocobo Al Kupo. Most importantly, Al raises attack, defense, wisdom of all allies for 3 turns. That's the first skill you're going to be casting. Second one will then be HP recovery and 10 MP for all allies. I honestly totally forget what the AI is, and I think the AI is stupid with this unit. It might want to accelerate itself before it gives Chocobo Al, or it could be semi-random. So that's one of the few negative parts here, but is a very highly rated A unit. The agility is really, really strong. The 1st Awakening gives breath resistance. 3rd Awakening will unpoison an enemy attack if within 1 to 3 range. It has 4 uses. So if it sees an enemy that gets poisoned, it will unpoison them. So that is absolutely huge. And the 5th Awakening recovers 10% of HP at the start of its action for ad infinitum. As I say, its big weakness is its HP is relatively low. So you're talking probably at best you'll get 90, to 95 with a very high HP weapon. That's what you're going to be giving Chocobo. But other than the low HP, it is a really strong unit overall. Its ranges aren't very, very large, but because it's got such a large area to do that, it doesn't really matter a great deal. But overall, that is the unit that I like the most. Moogle is pretty close behind. It has Cure. It can restore a small amount of HP. Sorry. Second one is the one that I really like is Mog Barrier. Increases physical and spell resistance to all allies for 3 turns. So you can actually, with both Choco and Moogle here, Kupo, you're going to get a pretty powerful combination of buffs overall. And Holy for Moogle does a very large amount of spell damage, and it has a huge range. First one reduces MP consumption, and if you're looking here, it is a slightly weaker version. It doesn't even have the agility or wisdom, but that's Holy is a very high rank for damage. The third one will rarely raise wisdom significantly for 4 turns. When that happens, you will just do massive damage. And Holy in this game has no attribute for elements, so it will just pound and ground and pound overall. And Fifth Awakening, if it's close enough, which is a little scary at times, but within 1 to 2 range, it will heal with Moogle Dance, which is basically a slightly weaker version of Cure. But it will also heal, just think of Seraphy type deal constantly throughout. Personally, this is another really, really good unit. Those 3 A farmable units, by far, to me, are the highlight of this event. And overall, I consider this must farm and do your best to do what you can. It is in the holiday break, and I know some people are going to be really busy during the holidays, and it'll be really rough, but do the best that you can. So the S weapons and armor, they're okay. The Chrysanthemum, which is a katana, just good HP and agility with physical 4%. This is for Omega. Excalibur is for Bahamut. It's HP and attack and intelligence as well. It's got both. That is a really unique overall sword that gives both. Flame Tongue is for Leonis. It gives physical power as well. And the last one is Ribbon, which gives all element resists 3%. Plus, you can get, I believe, another 2% if you draw it. So that does help out a little bit. I do wish they pumped it up a little bit more. It would have been a lot more worth it. But it's an okay armor. But in this game, armor is not really super, super important. It's a well-made armor will give you a slight edge, but it's always just slight compared to weapons and compared to units. The A weapons here were the Vision. Kaiser Knuckle is a pretty good agility piece. Gives you first power. Tiger Fang is for Phoenix. Basically, it's just good for agility. But those are the 2 weapons that I prefer the most, as they're 17 agility. Mage Smasher reduces physical MP consumption and gives you 13 agility as well. That's mostly for Chocobo, and giving him Chocobo heal is pretty important. And the last one here is Main Gauche is the weapon for Shiva. That is not the correct information. That is from the ribbon. I do apologize, but nothing too important there. Ifrit EX battle. This is to enhance Ifrit most efficiently with energy, but this is actually a pretty rough battle, and in all honesty, most people, and I mean most people, will not be able to auto this. You will be able to skip it, and that would be probably the best in order to get Ifrit. Um, Ifrit will use first skills until about 80% HP. Then will cover. It recovers 5% of its HP each turn. What you really need to do is use a Jessica bomb and to lower its HP as much as possible. And in all honesty, this is going to be one of the times where you're just going to do the hard battle for most people, so you don't waste your skips. But you will have to use a little bit more energy in the long run. But all in all, it is definitely doable, and people who play it by hand can do that. It's not a super tough battle per se, as in like, wow, you really need to focus on everything. It's just you're going to whittle it down all at once with Jessica. And basically, when it reaches below 80%, it will use buffs, and then the next turn will use Hellfire and Flame Dance and try to nuke you down. And that's why you usually want to use a selfless unit to protect you from that. Omega Hunt's the next one. This one is a little different, and actually, it's pretty fun. It's the same thing that we did very early on with the pyramid range, where you try to reach an area. You get the Omega rewards for above. There's your Phantom Orb Cactus card, which allows you to get to this more of a secret area, and gold. Recommended elements are generally is to bring us Bang and Zap. You're going to be using Zap primarily against Omega if you're going to fight it. You're going to want to protect against paralysis, but a high moving unit or high moving sets of units is ideal so that you can do all these missions overall. We're getting another large scale capture battle. This is going to be pretty cool. This is the exact same thing from Zoma. It's going to be pretty much the same. I think this one to me feels a little bit easier than Zoma. You're going to work to get the highest score. And the importance is the exact same from everything. So not going to go into too much detail other than that is available. The main unit here is Bahamut EX, so you're going to be fighting a Bahamut. There's actually a lot of Bahamuts you'll be fighting against. You're going to want to have Zamwoosh and Crackle of your units. There's the 8 that I suggest. You can also add some of those below. I will be using Sorrow and probably Bianca here out of this range, but these are probably the best units that you can choose from. As I say, the part of the reason is Zoma, for more of the players who've been playing longer, especially with the Blossom Door, if you've unlocked enough Blossomings, should be able to mildly steamroll. Hopefully people have Hero. With those two, those are the two real main ones overall. And actually, believe it or not, one of the most original units for a lot of people here, Killing Machine, actually does a lot of great damage as well. Killing Phoenix, though, is very important because it will boost your damage dealt. I do like that mechanic. They realized that Zoma was a little there, so they try to give help as long as you kill units in order correctly. After that, you're going to shoot for Shiva and Ifrit. When they drop below 75% HP, they will summon 4 allies apiece. Shiva will use Cactaur. Will summon Cactaurs. So those units, you're going to want to make sure that you have breath or spells overall. That's why I say Zoma personally is super, super important for this battle, and will take out those Cactaurs very, very quickly. And basically at this point, that's all you're really going to go through. Go fight that battle. Go enjoy. The next big battle is Leona's King Mont battle. This is the super high difficulty battle. This is for icons primarily. Not going to go too much into detail here. But basically, you're going to want to protect Jessica and Claria. And you need to defeat Shiva in 3 turns. And once you defeat Shiva, then you should be okay overall. Chocobo is going to be very important to raise up everything. Basically, what you're going to be doing is just going through Shiva first. If you don't get Shiva done in 3 turns, she will start casting massive damage. And then Leona's just really doesn't do a great deal of damage overall. You should be okay, especially if you're basically Claria and young Terry will heal. Chocobo buffs and Hero and Jessica just whittle everything down. Omega battle. This one is not nearly as hard as the others, but because Omega has some annoyances, shocking. You're going to want to protect yourself against Sizzle and paralysis. And you want to attack at very, very close range to avoid its counter, which is paralysis, basically based. If you are immune to paralysis, then don't worry about the counter. It's pretty weak overall. It's just that annoyance. Wait until Omega takes its first turn before you buff. If it senses a buff before that, it's going to greatly increase its own stats. So please don't do that. Because of that, just make sure that if you're going to do that and you're going to buff with Seraphy, only make sure she's under 593 or 92 agility. That will ensure that she goes after Omega goes with his first turn. On turn 3, you want to make sure that Seraphy here with this team gets hit by the atomic ray. She needs over 1,050 HP. If you can do that, that is fantastic. I don't have an armor for her. Doesn't really matter. You're just looking to get whatever HP you can on her. You really want to kill Omega on turn 4 to avoid it basically freaking out. And that will get you to turn 5 for the victory. And I would highly suggest that you stay above 425 agility so that you can speed up and go past it as well. But it's not the biggest need right there. There's a grenade battle. Grenades. So this one, there will be a grenade at the very back, and then there'll be some grenades up front. The back grenade is got 12,000 HP. It will summon units on even turns. The goal is to really defeat it by turn 3, so you can mop up on turn 4 or 5. All of the grenades will self-destruct when the HP is at 50% or less. So that is going to be the big thing to worry about here. Is you're going to want to mop up units, and because the grenade summons on each turn, that's where the difficulty lies. The enemies aren't super hard, but just in case, that's what you have here. For members here, I'm probably going to be using my Zoma, but here's a easier one that has been shown to work. That is basically all free units except for the leader. Fortunately, hero is super important. That's why I try to stress on people to get hero as much as possible. I do like Zenlon, though, for RTA. But once again, you could still pull hero for a couple more days, I think. Or at least when I'm making this video. So, the main other thing here is Great Dragon and Medesagora need to be above 466 agility to go first and to kind of draw units properly. But all in all, not the biggest of battles, especially once you know that they will self-destruct at less than 50 HP. Yep, more battles, everybody. Phoenix. You're going to want to use Zoma. Zoma's incredibly important here. Use his Awaken skill to remove Auto Resurrect. That basically gets rid of 10,000 HP of it because you'll have to kill it again otherwise. Because of its evasion, you want breath and spells to attack. That is by far the most important thing overall. Phoenix will start using Flare at HP less than 30%. Flare is annoying. Flare will do lots of damage. Flare will kill you if you don't have the proper tanks. You can earn the Flame Tongue here. And you want to have more than 394 agility for all the units. And this is after slowing Phoenix down. There's going to be also the main region here is with the Moogle, Mingosh, and King Mont here. You've got the Mog Shop Kupo battles. This is just the normal battles overall. They will show you what you can get over there. There is a Moogle Shop EX battle. This is the a bigger battle, quote unquote. It's not nearly as bad as all the others. You will be fighting Bahamut again. Bahamut just doesn't like you. But more importantly, once again, you can get Fan Orbs here. This will be, I believe, the second week or second drop, which will be sometime in the middle of the second week of the event. First, this will use Mega Flare. You're going to want our bird friend here to have more, to be away from everybody, to take the Mega Flare damage for the most. And then you're going to want all of your other units to have like 1300 HP if possible. If so, you should be fine. But that is the challenge here. And you want your Lamia to be above 579 speed to bring it out to the forefront to take the damage. The big thing here is, as long as it will auto revive, all good there. Just speed it up and get it going. If you've got a fast unit that's got 1500 HP, it could face tank it, but you're basically going to want to have a unit fly up there, get 3 to 4 spaces beyond, and just face tank Mega Flare. Then everyone else can rush up and attack it and kill it overall. The main battle set that you're going to be spending most of your time in is going to be called Run Chocobo Battles and Rewards. Personally, by far the most important here is Choco here. All in all, that's where you're going to spend most of it. Then Moogle here is also going to be important because you'll be able to get that there. But all in all, that's just the normal stuff. And finally, we have our battle roads. There's going to be 2 battle roads during this event. The first one is King Leonis. This is going to be the first battle road that we're going to see. We'll have Cactaur, Moogle, Bahamut, and King Leonis. And the second one is going to be Chocobo. That will have Phoenix as well. So we might even get Chocobo first. They might come out both. We'll see. I hope you guys, though, did enjoy this super long intro to our event. It is going to be a fun event. There's going to be a lot of really good units that we will be using down the line that we can farm. And honestly, this is one of the few times where I'm not really into a great deal of the gacha units. The gacha units I'm actually into are more the A units than the S units. And so we'll see how everybody goes, but I hope you guys enjoy. More importantly, I have not forgone my goo. I hope you guys all have good luck, and more importantly,